Good afternoon. My name is Paula Freeman, and this is my epidemiological self-analysis profile. Alzheimer's disease has strongly impacted my family. This is the reason why I selected this as my family history topic. The disease history begins with my maternal grandmother. I really don't know much about the rest of the family further back having any history of Alzheimer's disease, but my grandmother, her sister, and 2 brothers did die of the disease. The photo on this slide is of my mother and her sister. They both have the disease along with one of their brothers. My mom did pass away in 2017, but she does have 6 additional siblings that appear to be disease-free at this time. Her siblings that are alive with Alzheimer's disease are living in memory care units in the state of Minnesota. Alzheimer's disease, as you may know, is an irreversible progressive disease that slowly destroys individuals' memory and their ability to think and carry out their daily activities. It's not a normal part of the aging process. There are about 5 million Americans living with this debilitating disease. According to the CDC and the website that I was using, the National Institute for Aging, it stated that Alzheimer's is 6th on the list of leading causes of death in the United States, but there are indications that it is thought to be actually higher, maybe even 3rd on the list. They're doing some studies now of unreported cases, and it looks like in the future that Alzheimer's will be a more prevalent cause of death for the American citizens. And most of these patients who were individuals who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's are in their 60s. There are 2 categories or types of Alzheimer's disease. They generally list them as early or late onset. The disease itself is actually not completely understood, or the cause of it isn't. However, both types do or are thought to have a genetic link. The early onset Alzheimer's disease tends to occur between the ages of 30 and mid-60s. It is linked to an inherited mutation on chromosome 21, 14, or 1. At this time, if there is a chromosome mutation on one of those 3 chromosomes, they're going to term it or call it familial Alzheimer's disease. These individuals are said to run a 50-50 chance of inheriting the disease. Late onset is linked to having a form of allele abnormality of the apolipoprotein E gene on chromosome 19. This abnormality actually puts the individual at risk for disease as well. Now, that was just kind of a brief overview of the genetic dispositions. It is far more in depth than I can actually go into on this presentation. Heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, and obesity are also being investigated as possible players in the development of Alzheimer's disease. That is another reason why it is so important to maintain a nutritious diet, get enough exercise, and the site I did my research on talked about mental activity and how important that is to keep the brain working and to socialize, and that will help maintain cognitive function. So what do I know about my risk factor? Am I at risk? Yeah, I do believe I am at risk for Alzheimer's disease. I was a bit surprised at the indication that heart disease and high blood pressure are being investigated as part of the risk for Alzheimer's disease, and clearly I do have some work to do in the healthy living aspect I don't always eat right. I don't exercise. And I do have high blood pressure. I've just been recently diagnosed with that. Unfortunately, that also puts me at risk for other diseases, as I'll talk about further on in this presentation. I have 2 siblings that are 9 and 10 years older than I am, and we have had many conversations about the prevalence of this disease in our family. We do each have our own opinion on the genetic testing, but I feel fairly interested. I don't know if I feel strongly about being tested because I haven't done it yet. I think I eventually will have the genetic testing done for Alzheimer's disease. I am interested in finding out those results, but fearful of the result. But at the same time, knowing that the best way to fight a disease or handle maybe Alzheimer's is to know that you're in a predisposition to have it, or that you have the genetic predisposition, because you can't fight something you don't know that you have. I miss my mother dearly, but watching her slip away slowly was way worse than her actual death. And if I could prevent that for my family, I think that would be important. At the age of 52, I think it's actually past time to seriously think about my protective factors against this disease. Now, moving on to the portion of this assignment that talked about finding my disease risk and doing the questionnaire on the Your Disease Risk website. I have found that I have an above average risk for breast cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. And that is not surprising to me that I was at risk for diabetes, heart disease, and stroke, but breast cancer kind of made me take a pause and wonder why I was at risk for that. And I kind of attributed that to my unhealthy weight, but we'll see as we go along what the rest of my actual results were. So once I completed the further questionings on the questionnaire, I found out that my breast cancer risk was really not as high as what it was initially found to be on that first questionnaire. But things that I can do that can lower my risk are the fact that I don't have benign breast disease. I did breastfeed for a total of 1 year. I was younger than 35 when I first gave birth to 2 children or more. I'm not of Jewish descent. I don't have family history of breast cancer other than a cousin. I'm not tall. I'm only 5'1", and I haven't taken hormonal therapy for menopause for 5 years or more, and I don't smoke. Also, to lower my risk, again, I can lose weight, exercise, drink less, I don't know about that, eat more fruits and vegetables, and continue with my yearly mammogram screenings. The things that do put me at risk is that I do consume alcohol. I have dense breasts. I was not overweight as a child. I was younger than 12 when I started menstruating. I do tend to eat more unhealthy. Right now I'm not eating more than 5 servings of fruits or vegetables on most days. Not very active. The website said you need to be more active 30 minutes or more a day. And I have gained a significant amount of weight since I was age 18. Diabetes was on my list as well. Upon further survey questions, the results from the above average changed to below average. However, it is still suggested that I maintain a healthy weight, exercise more, and eat more unsaturated fats. Now, the things that raise your risk for diabetes, or my risk particularly, is again that I'm physically inactive. I don't use liquid vegetable oil on most days. I weigh more than I should. If I want to lower my risk, I should eat 3 or more servings of whole grains on most days. Eat 3 or fewer servings of refined starch a day. I am not Hispanic and I do not smoke. Heart disease was also on my radar. What raises my specific risk is that I don't take a daily low-dose aspirin. I don't use liquid vegetable oil on most days. I eat trans fats on most days. I eat more unsaturated or more saturated fats than I should. I eat fewer than 3 servings of nuts per week. I eat fewer than 5 servings of fruits and vegetables on most days. And I eat less than 2 servings of fish per week. My total cholesterol level is probably a little high. I have high blood pressure. Again, my physical activity is low, and I weigh more than what I should. The fact of things that lower my risk are that I don't have a family history of heart disease. I take a multivitamin or B complex on most days. I drink a moderate amount of alcohol. I should avoid more. Too much can be harmful. I eat 3 or more servings of whole grains on most days, and I am not regularly exposed to tobacco smoke, and I don't have diabetes. Stroke was again on that list. I do have a moderate risk of stroke. My increased risk is raised because I have an unhealthy waist size. I have high blood pressure. That physical activity is on there again. I eat fewer than 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. I can lower my overall risk, by decreasing total cholesterol. I don't have a family history of stroke or heart disease. I don't have diabetes or high blood sugar. I drink 2 or few servings of alcohol a day. And I eat 3 or more servings of whole grain on most days, and I don't smoke. I did peruse the what I am at risk for website a little bit more. I was fairly certain I would be at risk for osteoporosis because I'm not much of a dairy consumer or calcium consumer, but I found that I wasn't at as high a risk as I thought I was. And I think that mostly was because of the fact that I do take my supplements and vitamin D and calcium. Overall, I learned a fair amount about my risk. It really didn't shock me that there are many ways that I can reduce my risk of heart attack, stroke, those type of things with simple, healthy living